Imagine this. This man on the tatami is one of the greatest masters of wushu in the history of China. But once he wasn't even allowed to come near the training hall. And that was only the first of many obstacles on his path to glory. China, 1910. In Shanghai, an international tournament of unprecedented scale is taking place. 4 of the best fighters from Great Britain, Belgium, Spain, and Japan face the Chinese master Huo Yuanjia. He knocks out the first opponent in less than a minute. The second finds himself with a blade at his throat almost instantly. The third cannot withstand the pressure either. And now comes the decisive moment. A fight against the most dangerous opponent, the undefeated Japanese master, Tanaka. At this tense moment, Huo's entire life flashes before his eyes. He is a small boy again. The story takes us back 30 years earlier to Tianjin. Young Huo secretly watches a wushu master train. Fascinated, he dares to peek into the training hall but is harshly scolded. Children are not allowed there. And the most painful part, that master turns out to be his own father. His father strictly forbids him from practicing wushu. But Huo does not give up. He trains on his own, out in nature, far from prying eyes. While other children study calligraphy, his friend Jinsun even does his homework for him so that Huo can spend more time training. One day, they go to watch a competition together. There, Huo's father fights against a master from another clan. Nearby stands the opponent's son, who mocks Huo and predicts his father's defeat. And sadly, that is exactly what happens. Huo's father refuses to deliver a fatal blow, choosing honor over victory, and loses. Humiliated and upset, young Huo accepts a challenge from the rival's son, but suffers a crushing defeat. At home, a harsh conversation with his father awaits him. Punishment is almost inevitable, but his mother steps in to protect him. Later, she explains to him, true wushu is not about revenge and not only about victory. It is about discipline, control, and strength of spirit. Years pass. Huo grows up, loses his father, endures personal tragedies, but becomes a strong and renowned master. His mother warns him, the greatest enemy is not outside but within himself. But Huo is convinced that his duty is to bring glory to his clan. In one of his fights, he meets his old rival, the very boy who once defeated him. This is no longer a child's fight. The battle takes place at a great height, on narrow wooden poles. Every move could be fatal. But this time, Huo wins. He returns home as a hero. His friend Jinsun throws a celebration in his restaurant. Students come to him on their own, asking to be trained. Huo agrees, without thinking too much about their intentions. During the celebration, he tastes a strange drink for the first time. Coffee, which came from the West. Jinsun talks about how China is weakening and how Western countries are increasingly influencing it, but Huo is not interested. For him, only one thing matters, to be the best. He continues to win, sometimes using just one hand. His fame grows rapidly, and the number of his students increases day by day. But among the crowd, a mysterious man appears. He watches silently, then says only one thing. You have not yet fought Master Qin, and that will change everything. After dinner, Jinsun once again starts a serious conversation with Huo. He shows him the restaurant bill and speaks frankly. Huo's students only eat and drink at his expense. According to Jinsun, his friend should be more careful and pay closer attention to the kind of people he lets get close to him. The next day, a group of Huo's students appears at his doorstep. They carry one of their companions on a stretcher. The young man is badly injured, and according to them, it was none other than Master Chen who did this. Consumed by anger, Huo immediately heads to Jinsun's restaurant where Chen is celebrating his birthday. The host comes out and calmly says that he is not in the mood to fight today. But Huo does not back down. He provokes him, demanding either a fight or a public apology on his knees. At the most intense moment, Jinsun intervenes. He tries to stop his friend, to talk him out of this reckless act, and asks him not to ruin the celebration. In response, Huo coldly states that he will pay for all the damage caused during the fight. Jinsun is stunned. He cannot believe that his childhood friend sees him as nothing more than a person who cares about money. A serious argument breaks out between them. Huo orders all the visitors to leave the establishment and begins the fight with Chen. The battle is brutal and exhausting. Both fighters are wounded, but neither stops. Huo refuses to give in even when Chen knocks away half of his blade. Soon after, he loses his weapon entirely, but continues fighting with his bare hands. He breaks his opponent's bones, drives him to complete exhaustion, and keeps striking even when Chen is no longer resisting. Huo is so consumed by rage that he does not realize it is long past time to stop. Chen, barely alive, is carried out of the restaurant by his students. The next morning, Huo returns home after a heavy night of drinking and meets Jinsun. With bitter irony, Jinsun congratulates him. It seems Huo's dreams have finally come true. Then he delivers terrible news. Master Chen died a few hours ago. But this is not the worst thing Huo will learn that day. Soon it becomes known that someone has brutally killed all the remaining members of his family. Overcome with rage and grief, Huo rushes to Chen's house. There, he encounters Chen's godson. The young man confesses it was he who killed Huo's family, and unable to bear it, takes his own life before Huo can do anything. Huo notices Chen's wife and child nearby. For a few seconds, he hesitates, but ultimately leaves them alive. Empty and broken, he returns home and faces his students. One of them makes a shocking confession. He is to blame for everything. He insulted Master Chen's wife, and Chen was only defending her honor. These words finally shatter Huo. Disillusioned with himself, his students, and everything around him, he leaves it all behind and goes wherever his feet take him. For several months, he wanders aimlessly until one day he nearly drowns in a river. He is saved by an elderly woman and her blind granddaughter named Moon from a nearby village. They give the stranger shelter in a barn and take care of him without asking unnecessary questions. One day, Moon takes him to work in the fields with the other villagers. Huo tries to help, but does everything too quickly and incorrectly. Later, he notices that the blind girl quietly redoes all the work for him. She says something simple but important. To live in peace with others, people must respect one another. Huo remembers these words. Seasons pass. Gradually, he becomes part of the rural community. He learns how to plant rice properly, respect local traditions, helps Moon with household tasks, and takes care of her grandmother just as they once took care of him. In his free time, he quietly trains in nature and even grows his long braid again, a symbol of his past. One day, the grandmother tells Moon that it is time to visit their relatives' graves. Huo overhears this conversation, recalls his own past, and falls into deep thought. After some time, he tells Moon that he has to leave for a while to pay respect to his family. He promises to return. It is the year 1907. Huo returns to Tianjin and does not recognize the city. Foreigners are everywhere. The local population is struggling to survive, and outsiders are imposing their culture and religion. At home, Huo burns all the evidence of his past victories. They no longer matter to him. At his parents' graves, he admits that he has finally understood everything they tried to teach him. He promises his mother that he will not disappoint her again and asks his daughter for forgiveness for being a bad father. Huo decides that he must help his country regain its dignity and national pride. Soon, he sees a newspaper article that only strengthens his resolve. It speaks of an American strongman, O'Brien, who defeated all challengers in China and mockingly called them weak. He is convinced that no one will dare challenge him anymore, but he does not yet know about Huo. Huo goes to Jinsun and, for the first time in a long while, asks him for money to travel to Shanghai. Jinsun refuses. He remembers how things ended before. Huo does not argue. Instead, he goes to the house of the late Chen. There, he apologizes to Chen's wife and asks for permission to honor the memory of his former opponent. That evening, a messenger arrives with money, sent by Jinsun. The year is now 1909. Huo arrives in Shanghai to face a famous American strongman known as a true Hercules, a man said to be capable of moving a train with one hand and punching through the Great Wall of China. And this fight will mark the beginning of a new chapter. The opponent is much larger and physically stronger than Huo, but his movements are slow, heavy, and quite predictable. In contrast, the experienced master moves quickly and precisely. He literally exhausts his opponent with his agility. Toward the end of the match, the American crowd begins to boo their fighter, but he refuses to admit defeat. At a decisive moment, Huo throws the strongman over the ropes. The man ends up on the edge, his neck just a few centimeters away from sharp metal spikes. It seems like one more second, and it will all end in tragedy. But Huo stops it. He holds his opponent in place with his foot, preventing him from dying. This act impresses the American so deeply that he finally admits defeat. News of Huo's victory quickly spreads around the world. He calls on all wushu practitioners to unite and soon establishes his own sports federation. Jinsun comes to visit him. He is impressed not only by his old friend's victory, but also by how much he has changed. For the first time in a long while, Huo refuses his favorite wine. They talk about the difficult times their country is going through. Jinsun admits that he has left his restaurant and decided to stay in Shanghai. Together, they begin a new path. Crowds of students come to them, eager to learn not only how to fight, but also how to develop unity of body, mind, and spirit. But not everyone is pleased with this. Foreign representatives of the trade chamber are dissatisfied with the growing influence of the Chinese master. They decide to disgrace him in front of the whole world. To do this, they select 4 of the strongest fighters from different countries and pit them against Huo. And now we return to the beginning of the story. The fight with Tanaka is about to begin. The fighters step onto the arena with their national weapons. The Japanese master wields a katana, while Huo uses his own weapon. The match is evenly balanced. Both demonstrate a high level of skill. At one point, they unexpectedly exchange weapons, and it is then that a weakness in one of them becomes apparent. Huo notices it, but refuses to take advantage of it. He returns the katana to his opponent and suggests continuing the fight on equal terms. A few more minutes of intense combat pass, and the round ends in a draw. The referee announces that the final round will be hand-to-hand combat. The fighters are given a short rest. Huo quickly drinks some tea and returns to the tatami. At first, everything goes well, but suddenly something changes. The match is interrupted. The audience does not understand what has happened, but Huo already realizes everything. He quietly tells Jinsun the tea was poisoned. The cup is already gone. It was removed to hide the evidence. Jinsun begs his friend to go to the hospital immediately, but Huo refuses. He understands. There is very little time left. The students offer to fight in his place, seeking revenge. But Huo categorically refuses. He decides to finish the fight himself, as a true master of wushu should. Tanaka steps onto the arena reluctantly. He warns that if the fight continues, there will be no mercy. Huo accepts this condition with dignity. The fight resumes. Even as his strength begins to leave him and his legs start to give way, Huo keeps fighting. He almost loses. But at the very last moment, he finds the position for a decisive strike, the same one he once used against Master Chen. His fist shoots forward and stops just a few centimeters from Tanaka's heart. Huo does not strike. He collapses onto the tatami. Tanaka realizes that his opponent could have easily killed him, but chose not to. As the referee is about to declare his defeat, the Japanese master lifts Huo to his feet and raises his hand, recognizing him as the winner. Huo dies on the tatami, surrounded by his students, and we see a symbolic scene. His spirit continues to train under the starry sky, while his beloved moon stands beside him.